All right, well, let's get going. So, start out the release schedule. So, this is what's currently on the HDF Group's GitHub page. Some of this is going to change a little bit. I haven't updated this yet. The 114 release dates are basically the same. This 114.1 should be released in the next week or so. We're just finishing up the a few things for that. 114.2, and the main feature in this is the extending selection IO to data type conversion. And then 114.2 should come out in August. And I don't think VFD Swimmer is going to be in there. I think that more of this is going to be about having the Vol test suite fully integrated into this. VFD Swimmer is probably going to wind up getting kicked until 2024. I don't think there's going to be realistically enough time in here to bring this home. Well, I'll try. We'll see. But it's more likely to be delayed to later. 112.3 is going to release at the end of May, and that'll be the end of the 112 line. And we'll just be bringing in CVE fixes and things like that that have been added to develop since the 112 release. This 110 release over here that we initially had penciled in for January, which would be the end of the 110 line, I think I'm going to move that up, just that we don't have to support all these maintenance branches. So that may end here in September. So that's where we are with the release schedules. In case anybody has any questions, I guess most people are from our company, so probably don't have questions. We've got a couple of meetings that are coming up that I've added to everybody's calendars, and these are going to be open to the public if people want to join in. The first one is we're starting up an HDF5 working group meeting that will be on Thursdays at 10 a.m. Central Time. So it'll last for about an hour. If anybody's interested in that, they can just email me and I can shoot them a Teams invite. They're open to the public, but I'm not going to have a completely open meeting. And in there, that's really designed for going over pull requests, issues, discuss the future directions of the library, things like that. So if you're really interested in the library internals, that is and to see the sausage get made, that's a place to come. If you have a pull request that's bigger and more complicated, you want to make sure that gets shepherded through, then that's a place to show up. So we have that. It's not a replacement for this meeting. It's for those people who come to our engineering meetings on Fridays. It's not a replacement for that. This is really just about moving HDF5 along and really about GitHub, making sure that things happen in there. So then the other thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to have an internal seminar, and that will be on the fourth Friday of every month at 10 a.m. Central Time. And so those will be very informal presentations. There will not be slides or anything like that. But it's really just to have engineers at the HDF group talk about various internal parts of the library. So, and those are also open to the public, same thing. If somebody wants to join those, feel free to shoot me an email and I will shoot you an invite to the Teams meeting. Another thing that we're going to be doing is, so we're trying to get better about engaging with people on GitHub and getting pull requests merged through faster, addressing issues more quickly. And so we'll have a rotating engineer of the week who will go through and make sure that things are tagged and assigned to a person as they roll in, so that we can merge these things through faster. So if we take a look at the pull requests, these are pretty empty right now. But we have this labeling scheme that we're using. And so this is like which branch they're going to go to, components. This is a merge PR. This here indicates that these are going to be merged to 110, 112, and 114 type severity. So we're using this to indicate the characteristics of these issues and these pull requests. And we'll be using this hopefully to set up some automation to where things can kind of get set up into like automatically merged into PRs for downstream merges, although that will become less of an issue as we drop 112 and 110. But I feel like it's a lot of maintenance effort on our part to merge things to 110 and 112. So we're trying to automate as much of that as possible. So hopefully you will see over the next couple of, in the future, weeks and months, you'll see things moving through this queue faster, and we'll address our backlog. We know there's a lot of things. There's 196 things, and so hopefully we can get this whittled down. So that's coming. As I mentioned before, with HDF 5.110, that will be the last thing that's in release. Just going through my list here. So the other thing that we've been doing is we've been going through and slowly hardening the layer where we read things off of the disk, because it's a frequent source of CVE issues and OSS fuzz issues. And so there's been a lot of work in here. If you look through the history, you'll see this like hardened H5O cache deserialized calls. Some of these were individual issues that we fixed. But I went through and completely sanitized the whole layer. So the metadata cache, at least for the things that do not have checksums, because the checksums catch most of the issues that we see with malformed files. And also all the object header messages stuff, which is most of those don't have individual checksums. So because if you look here, right, this is from OSS fuzz. This is a list of all the stuff that's been opened. The verified, I think most of these are things that have been fixed. So yeah, verified as fixed. And so these were mostly open like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and now they're mostly closed. There's still some in here. I have to go through and pull the proof of concept files down and check these out. But most of these should be closed now. And I keep getting messages every day from this OSS fuzz thing that we signed up for, that these things are slowly being closed as their automated scripts go through and check out the latest version of the software and build with it. So hopefully this will all go into the closed pile, and we can, and what we've done will prevent a lot of these things from showing up. Because if you look in our list of issues that we have over here, there's probably like 20 or 30 of them in here that are all like this here. And these come from OSS fuzz. And so we're trying to fix this. This has been a game of whack-a-mole for many years now. And also too, there's the CVs. So OSS fuzz picks up a lot of stuff that aren't considered CVE issues. Sometimes they get converted into CVE issues, but for the most part, a lot of these are just memory leaks and stuff like that, for where we didn't clean things up. And that was a part of all this work that we were doing in the this hardening stuff. And if you just want to look and see kind of like what one of these things looks like, I mean, for the most part, there's a bunch of code cleanup that we did here too, but for the most part, it is just going through and where's the bulk of it? It's in here where we're just checking for buffer overflow before we move along pointers. So anyway, so one of the things that we're also doing is, because there's a bunch of these and people are starting to get really fussy about having open CVEs in libraries. And so we're trying to be more transparent about which vulnerabilities have been fixed, which have been, which remain open, because nobody wants to go through, 6 releases worth of release.txt files in order to see what's been fixed and what is not. So what we've started doing is we have this repository here, this CVE_HDF5, and this is intended to be kind of a one-stop shopping, so you can see what has been fixed and what has been not. This is a work in progress, right? This is still very rough. Don't go here and expect that everything in here is going to work and be great. But we're accumulating all the test files. These are all the proof of concept files for all the CVE issues, because almost every single CVE issue that we have stems from one thing, and that is when you parse a malformed file, we will sail off the end of a buffer and create problems there. We will leak memory, we will crash, we'll divide by 0. So so as we've been hardening this stuff over the years, these slowly get fixed. And now this last spate should have fixed most of the things that remained. There's a few of these that are a little trickier, and I think there's a couple that are still open, but we'll verify. But the idea is that we have all these files here. So if you want to test and see if the CV is open, it's real easy. You can just take any version of the library. You can plug this into anything that you have that consumes HDF5 files and see if it fails or not, to see if you're vulnerable to these things. And then also too, the intent is to have this script in here, which is still a work in progress, where it will go through and test, say, H5 dump with all these files to make sure that to dump at the end, which ones you were vulnerable to and which ones you were not. And then from this, what I plan to do is to create these files in here, which would have basically a table with yes, no. And so for any given release, you could go and look and see which ones are vulnerable to which ones. So one-stop shopping, very quickly you can see what we're vulnerable to and what we are not. I think this would be very helpful for the community. Now, another thing that we've been working on is we want a way to be able to communicate with people when we are going to be pushing a change. Now, for things like the file format and for the API, we have kind of defined procedures for doing this, where we don't break binary compatibility along maintenance lines. So between 1.14.0 and 1.14.1, you should still have binary compatibility. We don't break API calls along there. For the file format, we commit to being able to read old versions of the HDF5 library for perpetuity. And old versions of the library should be able to read newer files created with the newer version of the library if you've selected the right compatibility flags when you set stuff up. So, or using older data structures and things like that. So, but there are things that we would like to change that are not that, right? Things like, so if we change configuration options, if we change command line tool options, things like that, there are times where we want to push that stuff out and not have to wait for the next major release of HDF5, which may take a while. As an example, we have this problem with H5 dump, where in the past we decided that we were going to do kind of Python-like selections when doing partial I/O using brackets, and that's unfortunate because brackets are legitimate parts of identifiers in HDF5 files. So if we want to push that out and push that down to where that's a change for everybody, we need a way of communicating that to people. So what we're going to be doing is we'll be posting on the forums under the individual products, whether it's under HSDS or under HDF5, or HDFU, or HDF4. When there's a change, these will show up as, and we'll have a link to this policy inside here. We will we'll pin a topic in here. We'll announce it at the call to doctor sessions. We'll try to be as noisy as possible about it for a month. And then after that, and then the place to comment on this, to have discussions, is going to be on the forum. And then if after a month there's no significant pushback on that, we will go ahead and make the changes. So this would be where places like, if we're going to drop the auto tools, which is something I would like to do at some point in the near future, those discussions will happen here. So, and this is mostly for things that are coming from the HDF group. I mean, if people want to propose their own things, then yeah, make posts in here and we'll discuss. But these, when we pin these things on there and say this is something coming, this is communication from us saying that this is something we thought about a lot and we think that this needs to happen. So those are the topics that I had for today. Do you have any questions? So yeah, so the HDF users group will be in August in Ohio. So we encourage you to attend, to let us know if you want to present.
Yeah, so right now we're really working to solicit presentations. The link's there at the top. The deadline for final submissions for presentations is May 21st, but as part of the organizing committee, it'd be really helpful if you were thinking about presenting to just throw your notes in there, and you can come back and put in, your actual text, but just let us know you're thinking about it or a topic. And then you can also email hug@hdfgroup.org if you were like, I'm thinking about this, is this appropriate? We'll be happy to talk with you more about any presentation ideas. All right.
Right.
Thanks, everyone.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.